right. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to have one of my friends on the show today. Someone I've gotten to know over the last few years. Pat Wurtz joins me. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about life and whatever else comes up. Pat, welcome, man.
Hey, thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Dude, first off, we haven't talked probably in, I don't know, 3, 4 months, maybe something,
Yeah.
something around there. How's life been, man? How's the new year?
It's good. Yeah, we're off to a good start and finished 2022 strong, and 2023 is already, I feel like the momentum's already pushing our direction. So we just keep hitting the ground running. We don't really take a break.
Very good. I love that, man. And we'll dive into the business world here in a minute. But how did you bring in the new year? What was the festivities like?
Well, Jake, when you get old, like me, you don't go to barbacoa anymore and hit the dance floor like I used to and watch the ball drop at midnight,
Or the Idaho
Yeah, or the
potato?
potato. A group of us went to the country club, and had a live band, and it was a very mellow potluck style party before, and a little bit of light dancing, and barely made it to the ball drop, and went straight to bed.
Oh, very good. Get
Things
that
change. Things
that
change a little
got to get that rest starting on January 1.
bit. Exactly.
Wake up the new
Exactly.
year with a nice 8 hours of
What did you do?
Dude, we went up to Cascade. We hung out. It was low key, pretty
God's
chill.
country.
Yeah, it was a really good time, man. Par for the course for us, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, dude, let's dive into some of the business stuff here, man. You've got some cool things going with Adventure Awaits USA. Let's get grounded. What kind of business you got going, man? What are you doing?
I fell into a t-shirt slash clothing company,
Yeah.
and it started. I've actually been doing this business, or a version of this business, for 10 years. And it's definitely, what started as a stupid idea to make some beer money, turned into a brand, and we've expanded into four states now, and we sell t-shirts and hoodies to primarily resorts and state parks. Is kind of where we found our niche. But it's ever evolving, and never thought, if you told me 10 years ago I'd fall into a clothing t-shirt company, I would have thought you were crazy. But here I am, and
Well,
it's been, I haven't really looked back. So
all right. So the genesis of this, like I've been in many conversations, hanging out with friends, having some beers. Somebody says something, and then you're like, dude, that should be on a t-shirt. Like,
that
was it
you,
literally like that kind of
you basically literally nailed it on the head. I had graduated from the University of Oregon, and when I had graduated, that was the economy. It was 2007, so 2008, we all know what happened to the economy. So had a business degree and thought I was going to be working in some cubicle in some high rise doing marketing and being the businessman in my suit. And I ended up just having to find something to pay the bills, and I ended up serving tables at 10 Barrel, the original 10 Barrel
yeah,
in Bend.
in Bend, yeah.
And it was after work one day, and after about an IPA and a half, I was sitting there, and I was thinking about how prideful everyone that and some guys from Bend, including myself, but everyone who lived in
I,
Bend at the
I
time.
have most of my friends from college. We're all your
and
group of
and
high school friends
and
from
I
Bend. Yeah.
apologize for that right now, because we're a rowdy bunch. Uh, so I was sitting there, I was like, gosh, Bend is a very prideful place. Everyone's so prideful to be from here, living here. Like, what what's something I could do to kind of take advantage of that, or like something that would be like iconic for people, that locals, true locals. And so my idea after my IPA, which that 8% IPAs those days hit a little different.
Yeah, I bet.
So uh the idea was to put the area code, which which I was ignorant to the fact that I thought the area code, the 541 area code on a t-shirt. And I was ignorant in the fact that I thought 541 was only Bend. Well, it turns out that 541 at the time was all of Oregon except for Portland. Being the prideful Bend guy I was ignorant, 541 Bend, Oregon, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
So that was the original idea, but I had no no clue how to make a t-shirt at that point. So I started asking around and basically got connected with a guy, a local guy who had been in the industry, had seen some success. So kind of knew the ins and outs, and it was kind of a one-stop shop for me to go tell my idea. And turns out we made our first, I mean, after it was about 2 months worth of kind of R&D and asking around, but I was pretty serious about the idea because I thought it'd be fun to make 48 t-shirts, sell them to my buddies. We all have our 541 shirts on and we have some beer money and it's fun. And that was it. That was going to be the end of it. So I got basically 48 t-shirts that had the area code 541 coming down the side, kind of like this, I don't want to say affliction, but it was like a spray paint looking kind of coolish font. And then we had the state of Oregon.
It was
Down
2007.
It was exactly. And actually it's that shirt has become iconic. People still have them and it's become iconic in its own way, but we can't make them anymore, which we'll get into in a second. But and then we just have the state of Oregon with a star right in the middle. Very, very simple. So we ordered our 48 shirts from this guy that we got connected with. They show up in a box and we just started guerrilla style. Hey, you want a shirt? Yeah. How much are they? I don't know, $20, $25. Just, what do you want to pay for them? We walk into retail stores with literally our entire inventory in this box and like, hey, here's our shirt. What do you think? Would you like to buy some? I mean, that's how like guerrilla style, hobby it was. And then right from the beginning, we decided like, well, we got to do something. It's a local shirt, so let's partner with local charities and give back somehow. So we started kind of doing our research, and we picked. The idea was we were going to change charities every month and just kind of start, do Park and Rec and Humane Society and just kind of switch charities. Well, the first charity that we just happened to pick was the food bank. And so we went out and met a gal out there and got the tour of the food bank, and they started to, really tell us, and I was ignorant that the food bank helped so many people. And what really started to pull on my heartstrings was that less than 2% of the people that access the food bank, and it was all local, were homeless. And my ignorant brain thought, well, the people that are accessing the food bank are all homeless people. Well, that's not the case at all. It's single mothers, it's families that, can't make ends meet at the end of the month and they're down to their last penny before their next paycheck and they need, have 3 kids they got to feed. And from the very first quote unquote charity we picked, we never changed. Just because hearing that story is like, bang for the buck. This is a great place to be given our money and to give back to locals. So from that moment on, every shirt at that point we were feeding 5, this is a crazy story, 4 people. So it was 4 meals per shirt sold. We had this lady come in who was going to kind of rep our stuff on consignment. So very, very still guerrilla style. We were still very, very small. And she looks at us and she says, this was like a huge aha moment that kind of changed the brand once again. But she looked at us and she says, well, you guys are donating 4 meals for every shirt that you sell. We're like, yeah. She's like, well, that's really cool. Have you ever thought about raising it just 1 meal and then just calling it 541, 5 fed for every 1 shirt? We're like, that's brilliant. No, we actually never.
Yeah, because obviously it's 541, right?
541. So from that,
double entendre there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's one of those business stories where some of the best ideas come from somebody you're not expecting.
Yeah.
This crazy old lady comes in to rep our stuff and she had these really long nails and she was like tapping them on the counter and like, who is this lady? And then she comes up with this insane idea that we never thought of. So from then on out, it was 541 threads, but it was 5 fed for every 1 thread sold. So it was a double kind of play on words. And we ran with that for, we started to really gain momentum locally. Had a pop-up shop, it was becoming more of a brand and coming up with lines and, 4 to 5 new designs at a time. And then the momentum really started to kind of go kind of from there. So yeah. And that all was that was a 2 to 3 year progression that I just went through. So it wasn't like it just happened overnight.
Yeah.
It was still, out of the trunk of our car, and slowly but surely,
Well, why the altruism out of the gate? Like, why the charitable contribution out of the gate? Like, was it did it feel like the right thing to do? Is that something that came from the upbringing? Is it like, I don't know, because a lot of times when you start a company, the last thing that you're thinking about is like
yeah,
how it's usually what companies kind of true up on later. You know what I mean?
very good point. And this is kind of, that's a great question. I had just recently finished Blake McCoskey's book about how he started Tom's Shoes.
Okay.
And after reading that, in my head, I was like, well, that's a really cool model. And so I think that was kind of part of it. Like, that'd be cool to introduce some sort of charity aspect, because it's, from a business perspective, it is about giving back, and that it is the right thing to do. But from a business perspective, you now have marketing, you now have a story to tell. You have something that's more than just a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And it was really truly playing off local. Like, our target market was people that were from and lived in Bend, Oregon. We didn't even think about anything outside of that.
Yeah.
And just that local aspect, and truly, Tom's, found out later, there's obviously a handful of companies that were doing it, but Tom's was really the pioneer in all that was give back. Patagonia a little bit, but Tom's was like that first small company to do that. And there was at that time, nobody in Oregon, no t-shirt companies, no other companies were doing any sort of give back. So it really did make us stand out right out of the gate. And then it was that story. We always led with the story, and nobody was telling that story but us. And the t-shirts kind of became secondary at that point.
Yeah.
And we've always told the story, and now the story still resonates. But it's funny because now it's the quality of the t-shirt that is people remember, and the story, unfortunately, has kind of become secondary.
Sure.
But we still donate to the food bank, and have ever since.
Even as and we'll get into what the brand has become now, but even as the
Yeah.
brand's evolved, that's been a staple.
Yep.
Something.
And we simplified it. Definitely simplified, but it's always been the staple. And so we've been, we're probably almost 200,000 meals donated as a company since we started.
Oh wow, that's incredible, man.
And now we're partnering with, not just the food bank in Oregon, but in Nevada and Texas and Idaho. So it's localized, which we'll get into. It's localized donations. So, our footprint and our reach, and then our help is expanded, which gets me up in the morning. If I were just slinging t-shirts that had bad graphics on them that nobody liked, that'd be one thing, right?
Yeah.
But if I can wake up and make t-shirts that people actually like and they like to wear, and I can go write a check to the food bank every year and feel good about it, then that's a win.
That's awesome, man. And firsthand experience with specifically the Idaho Food Bank. Like I've the current COO at the time of this recording was my first ever business mentor. I worked directly
Really?
under a guy named Randy Ford.
Really?
He's still the COO today, but I owe a lot of my early career progression to Randy. And I know that he's on a team of really passionate executives out there that are doing awesome things, at least for the state of Idaho. So just taking a second and
I literally
walked.
I wrote the check for them for last year's donations. Walked in there yesterday and wrote the check.
Oh, very cool, man.
Yeah, and that always is like, you walk out of there and I feel so good. Like, okay, this is why I do this. So
all right, so let's go back. Let's hop in that time capsule again. Go back to your brick and mortar, like pop-up shop location, and then you got this company called 541. It's not called 541 now. Like, take me through the process of moving away from brick and mortar and then moving away from the name.
Yeah, wild. So we were starting to, kind of grow as a company, and we had found this vacant spot right downtown that had a sign up for lease for, months. And so we we reached out to the person, to the landlord, just said, hey, we're this small company, we give back. We were wondering if we could just temporarily have this space. We'll make it super easy so that as soon as someone comes in, we're out. But at least we're not going to pay the full rent. We're just looking for a temporary thing. But we'll give you something if you let us have the space for whatever, and then we're out of there. So we had this pop up for, gosh, I want to say probably 3 or 4 months. And then an actual, it was kind of a proof of concept at that point. None of us had any retail experience. But we kind of wanted, it was good for us to see like, hey, we can actually, we get enough traffic, we make enough sales to at least break even. And it's a good presence. People started to kind of get used to us there. So down the street, on the same street downtown, a real spot, like an actual permanent, kind of smaller footprint, but it's exactly what we needed, opened up. And we didn't even, I remember I was actually in LA traveling, and my business partner at the time called me and said, hey, that spot opened up. I signed the paperwork. We got a lease. I'm like, oh, you don't want to talk about it first? We're just going for it, huh? He's like, yeah, let's go for it. So we moved down the street to our permanent 541 Threads location. And with that, every Friday, every first Friday of the month, downtown Bend has this thing called First Friday Art Walk, and all the businesses stay open late. Everybody walks around, and it's supposed to be like an art walk, but it turned into more of just like shopping and people
Drinking beer. It's Bend.
drinking beer. You know how Bend, exactly. So from that day, every single month, we would throw a party, and we became known as the spot to go for a party. We'd have DJs, live music, keg of beer, like free, keg all the time, every first Friday. And that first Friday for our entire existence in retail was paid our rent in that one night every single month. So just first Friday alone broke even for that space. And then our reputation was, the store was always full. So 541 Threads. At the time, an old woman comes walking in the door during the random day and says, hey, I've been following you guys. I really like your stuff. I'm actually meeting with a buyer for this chain of stores in Oregon, and I rep a jewelry line, but I got a meeting with her. I'd love to just grab a couple things, take them with me and see what she thinks. I think, she might have some interest. And I had no idea how wholesale worked at this point. I had no idea. So she starts grabbing stuff off the shelf, and I'm thinking like, gosh, lady, you're taking like half our inventory here. Like, and are you just going to take it and leave? I'm never going to see you again. Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, turns out she takes it. She comes back, a week or two later and says, hey, I got some interest in this design. They want to order 48 shirts wholesale. And I'm like, what? Like how much are they? I'm like, I don't know how much they are. Like, how's this work? What do we need to do?
Yeah.
So that was we picked up our first wholesale account, and that was 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, who we still have is still our biggest client in Oregon. So we kind of started, that's where the wholesale kind of started. So with that, we decided, okay, well, we've got our first wholesale account. We've got a nice presence in Bend and a retail store downtown. We're growing. We should probably get this thing trademarked. Like we've got a business here. Like, let's do this. This is cool. So yeah. We met this lawyer who said he was going to do it at, basically at cost for us. We'd met him at one of our pop-ups, and a really nice guy is out of San Francisco. Like, here's all the stuff you need. So we file for a trademark, $1,200, whatever it is at the time. So you sit and wait. It's about a 6-month process. That. With about 2 weeks left to get our trademark for 541 Threads in clothing, we get a letter in the mail from a little company called Levi's.
Yeah.
And
Levi's,
like you're probably wearing Levi's right now.
I probably am, and I don't even know it, but yeah, of course.
So Levi's flagged our trademark, claiming, and everybody knows Levi's 500 series jeans, 503, they have the whole thing. Well, they had just came out with a 541 athletic jean like 3 months before this. And they claimed that we could not have a trademark for 541 on anything clothing. When you're a small company, and we did our research and we sat down with some local lawyers, and basically it was you guys are screwed.
Yeah.
Like there's no chance, and nobody wanted to go to bat against Levi's at that point. Nor did we even have the resources to go to bat against Levi's. So dreams kind of, you kind of get deflated. You're like, shit,
Because not only do you not get the trademark, you got to stop. You got to cease and desist.
Now exactly. Well, now we're on their radar.
Yeah.
So if we kept going, it was only a matter of time where it's gone, right? They weren't going to let that fly any longer. So biggest blessing in disguise that you could ever have happen. But at the time, you're not thinking that, right? You're thinking, what are we going to do? Like, everyone knows this is 541 threads. We have all of the, this is our branding. We have this whole story. So we hired a consultant, which probably was the best thing we could have done, because I don't think the three of us in the room could have come up with the branding and the real kind of vision behind what we were gonna change to. So I hired a consultant. We whiteboarded it out. How's it gonna look? Who are we modeling after? And we rebranded to BE Oregon. At the exact same time that we were going through the rebrand, another retail store opened up, bigger, better, more beautiful retail store opened up literally 3 doors down. So we basically, it worked out where we opened a brand new retail store, rebranded and relaunched a brand with the same exact look, feel, same story. So we did Be Oregon, Feed Oregon. So that was our new slogan. Beautiful new retail store, threw bigger parties on those first Fridays. Wholesale started to gain momentum in the background. So we were still retail, but now our wholesale orders were going from 48 to 200 to 500. And we picked up, another resort. We picked up a museum. So wholesale is really starting to kind of gain traction. So we ran the new retail store under the new brand it was probably a solid year. And we all walk in one day, and it's hard. I mean, none of us were good at it. We just kind of fell into it, and trying to keep everything stocked and make it look good and keep it clean when you have 3 dudes trying to run a company, and beer spills every first Friday. It just, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we kind of had we all walk into work one day, me and my partners, and we kind of look at each other and like let's look at what we're doing in wholesale versus what we're doing in retail. We could literally just run this thing wholesale only out of a garage, and all of our headaches go away. Like we just gotta disconnect from the awesomeness of having this big, bright light, beautiful retail store and all the parties and all the memories and how fun it is. Like, it was great, right? But if you separate yourself from that and let that go and just look at the numbers and the ease of business, if we just went wholesale and ran out of a garage, like, it's just 10 times easier.
Yeah.
So we decided, after numerous conversations, looking at numbers, and just like a sayonara to the baby, our baby. We basically sold the retail, kind of the shell of the retail store, to an employee, and then we kept the brand, and then just went strict wholesale out of a garage. And that's when we did that for 2 or 3 years, and every year we'd grow. And then so Oregon was, we had a big client in Oregon. Then we expanded into Idaho. So every state that we go to, it's just the B and then the state. We've just kept the same brand, B Idaho, feed Idaho. So then we opened up that. Then we got into Nevada. So we have two pretty big clients, one in Lake Tahoe and one Valley Fire State Park, just north of Vegas there. So B Nevada. And then most recently this year, our new baby is B Texas. But it's all under one umbrella brand called we've called it Adventure Awaits USA.
Yeah.
But we have our sub brands underneath all those, and it's 98% wholesale is our business.
Well, Pat, during all of this time, technology is evolving around you. I'm always so interested on the impact that technology has, the trials and the failures of leveraging technology, or maybe some of the misconceptions when you get into it. It's like, oh, I'll just create my funnel and then everybody will just funnel in here and those types of things. Maybe
100%.
during this period of time, did you experiment a lot with online retail, online sales? Did you what
Yeah.
was that experience like, and how did that evolve to where it is today?
Great question. So, and I'll be the first to admit, Jake, I've never been able to crack the code of online sales. I've always
You're
found
just
it.
one funnel away.
Yeah.
Sorry, Russell.
It is to me very difficult. And we got kind of lucky in a sense that wholesale kind of naturally evolved for us, and that's where we've always gone. But I've tried social media, I've tried Shopify apps that make it look like your website's getting sales. I've tried putting music on websites. I mean, we've tried everything. But when we had the retail store, we almost had to lead with the physical brick and mortar old school and let the fancy bells and whistles tech online kind of follow it.
Yeah.
But I've tried everything. I will say Spotify or Shopify is a small company entrepreneur's dream. You can have a store up, that works, that functions, that has everything you need in 30 minutes. So we use Shopify, and it's super easy to use, and I'm not very tech savvy, so it helps me. But Facebook ads, we've tried, split testing, we've tried, all kinds of stuff. Social, Instagram ads, Instagram consistency, and we've always fallen back into the wholesale is just our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And the other thing is with this business too, margins are already, razor thin. But if you really want to make an online push, well, you got to spend money, you got to be really good at it. But Amazon has killed small companies that sell things because Amazon ships it in 2 days. People are so used to having it be, I click the button on Amazon, it's at my doorstep in 24 hours. Well, that's totally doable when you're a small company, but that means you also have to carry inventory. And so now, as a small company, I'm purchasing my inventory to be able to have speed when and if I get that online order.
Yeah.
But now I got to sell it. And odds are, with trying to sell online, you're a tiny fish in a humongous pond, and now you're sitting on inventory trying to sell it, and you're getting killed. So that's why wholesale has just kind of been our order comes in, we know exactly how many to order, we produce it, we make it, we ship it out, and it's done.
I love it.
And it's not sexy.
Well, a lot of business isn't sexy, man. A lot of business is just consistency and time, right? As far as and
Yeah.
get that growth. Speaking of growth, right? You're in 4 or 5 states now, expanding this B concept under the Adventure Awaits USA brand or umbrella. I'm curious about what you've learned about yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner along the way.
I've gotten to a point now where I don't manage a business anymore. I manage people that manage a business. And we've got a very, very small team, a team of basically 5 people that run everything. And I more oversee now. I do a lot less hands-on actual doing all the boxing and hang tagging. In fact, it's to a point now where if I show up and try and help, they basically just tell me to get out of the way because
Yeah.
I'm screwing up the whole process. But it's managing people, and it's really listening, but also I've had to learn to, in order to free up my energy. I mean, this thing, I treat this thing as my baby. I've nursed this thing to life. And now it's in its adolescence, about ready to become a teenager, which is going to create all these other problems. But I've had to train myself to let other people do it, and trust that they can do it right. And there's been there's growing pains when you bring in, we changed our entire operations team last year, in the middle of March, which is right in season starts, and there was some growing pains there, and there's a lot of I had to fix some things, and basically rub elbows with clients, make sure that everything was good. But now it runs like a well-oiled machine, and I've just trusted the process, and now they're doing things better than I could ever do it, or implementing things I would have never even thought of. So it's I think for me, just trusting people and allowing them to grow, and allowing them to kind of solve the problems, and I can just over the top make sure things are organized, know what's going on. But other than that, they kind of just do it. They got it.
Yeah. I think that that's such a harsh reality of business in general, is the fact that, as an entrepreneur and as someone who's growing and scaling a small business, your job description changes. You go
Mm-hmm.
from the Swiss Army knife that has to be the most competent in every single facet of the business, to maybe involuntarily having to shift and change and be very good, to your point, at managing people, or making strategic decisions, or building those key relationships, or setting the direction of the brand. So in that
Yeah.
light, where's the brand headed, dude? Are you going to be in all 50? Like, what's the long-term goal here?
Man, I already got enough gray hairs, Jake. I don't know if we can be in all 50. No, with that, I really want to focus on the business development side now. Now that kind of operations, I can take a little bit of a step back. But I think, and you're all about leveraging relationships. Sometimes I think we try and overthink it and try and really force, like we should be sending out direct mail with samples to every single state park in the United States, which is a total viable strategy, but it's a lot of resources, and it's kind of throwing a dart. So this year we already have these relationships with buyers that we're already in, that they love our stuff. They've been reordering from us for years. That's like a walking testimonial already.
Yeah.
And you got to know that these buyers know other buyers, or no other state park people that run those state parks. So I want to, we're going to utilize those relationships and their network. And, Susie from Valley of Fire has got to know Timmy from, some state park up the road. And Susie says, "Hey, I've been carrying these guys for 3 years. You should try them. It's no brainer. They sell, go." Versus it's just an easier way. It's a warm lead, right?
Yeah.
Versus just trying to find some stranger, send them a box of samples that they get a million of a day, and try and do it that way.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to an organic type growth strategy, like.
Yeah, and I just think that's how we've always kind of done it. And and we kind of lead with, once we get kind of let's say Colorado, for example. We had a warm lead in Colorado. It looks like we just got a state park in Colorado. So once that happens, then we basically, in a snap of a finger, we create B Colorado. So the client, the lead, or the yes, we want your stuff, comes first, and depending on what state that's in, then we follow with that brand. and then we show it as Be Colorado, the full thing, and then that's when we open up the new states.
One of my favorite things was Megan went to my wife, for those who are listening, she goes to one of these Saturday market type places or whatever. And I don't know if she went to a shop that was a brick and mortar shop in downtown Boise, or if she stopped by a booth or something like that. But she came home with this long sleeve. I can't remember the logo on the front of it, but it was certainly Idaho, whatever. And it's soft and it's awesome. And she goes, "Oh, I found this shirt. I absolutely love it." And I go, that's one of Pat's, right? And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Look at the tag." And she goes, and you guys put that really nice, like, explain the tag. You're gonna explain a lot better than I do.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we do that kind of makes us stand out. But most t-shirts you buy will have just like the normal simple tag in it, or something that's not very it's just kind of just plain simple tag. So we actually sew in these really nice big, but they're like soft, they feel like part of the shirt, so they're not like that tag that itches or anything. And we hand sew every single shirt with its own nice big label. And then the thread actually shows through the back of the garment. So even if you're looking at the shirt from behind, someone wearing it, you can see that big square of thread. And I know of one other company that does that. And so it's kind of like our build a better mousetrap thing that we do, that one extra step that we put into the product that is sometimes a pain in the ass. Yeah. And if we didn't have to do that, we could move probably twice as fast. But it's also that one extra thing that's really hard for people to copy, and makes us stand, it stands apart from every other t-shirt.
And written on the tag is kind of the hypothesis
really,
of the company.
Yeah. The story's really big in there, easy to read. It stands out. And yeah, we've been doing that for a while, but once people see that, they love it. And clients love it because it's sitting on a shelf, and people are going to more likely pick up that shirt versus the one that has the, no story and no cool tag, which they make the sale, we get the reorder.
Very good. So what are you looking forward to in this new year, this 2023?
I'm looking forward to, obviously I want to keep growing. But I'm trying to focus more on a little bit life balance.
A little golf game?
Yeah, well, you know me.
Work on that golf
game. I'm taking
game?
you out. I'm taking you out.
Yeah, at some point in time, man. I play like twice a year. I'm basically a little bit better than a bogey golfer, maybe. But for a guy who plays twice a year, it's not.
I'm not going to take you out there and expect you to hit the course record.
All right. Just as long as you're not doing that.
But yeah, I pushed pretty hard in 2022. Just to maintain, and we had our busiest year yet, but I want to obviously keep growing. But my goal is to continue to get a team around me, as needed, so that they can be enlightened and be a part of something that means something to them, but also that allows me to focus on business development, but also, more hobbies for myself. Because as what's the saying? You don't start a business to work for the business. You start or what's the saying? You don't want to work for the business, let it just own you.
Yeah.
Let it work for you.
Listen, somewhere in there, there's some insight, right? But yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Like there's a big difference in between like that entrepreneur versus like the business owner, like in making that shift to say, like, could you take 2 to 3 weeks off and everything
still run itself?
100%.
And to be honest, Jake, a year and a half ago, I would have told you I can't be away from my phone or computer for more than 5 days, or else this thing's going to sink.
Yeah.
And that's not a good feeling, right? And that's not why we do this. So, but now I could go. I haven't even talked to my operations team yet this week, and I'm throwing in orders and everything's where it needs to be, and it's a great feeling. So there's something to be said about having having that team around you, and it's hard to find people.
Yeah.
Really hard to find good people, but once you have them, like take care of them. Like
It's
find people that are loyal, that care, that are smart, that can solve their own problems. Like that's a rare thing to find. I can't find somebody that wants anybody to go set up a tent and a table and sell shirts and make $10 an hour and 10% commission on sales all summer long, to
which is
go
a which is a
outside.
pretty good deal.
It's a great deal. And you work, 10 hours a week, maybe, and can't find a single person that wants to do that. So
No,
that's my next thing.
That's rough, man. I think we're going through a period in this country or societally of just this kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to be like every crotchety old person that's like, and I don't identify necessarily as an old person, but I do identify as crotchety sometimes. But like, that's just looking and going like, why? What is the challenge here? Like, why do we have a whole group of people that operate with such hubris and entitlement and a lack of understanding to just show up and get things done? And I think it's because we have options. We have
Lack of drive.
so many
Yeah.
options that you become kind of emotionally overwhelmed that you could do just about anything. And the pressure is what was so beautiful when I came out of college in 2008, 2009. Like, there was pressure. I worked an unpaid internship for 6.5, 7 months just to try to get some experience to go be competitive. And as much as I complained about it internally, I dare not complain about it to the employer while I was working through that process, because I didn't want to be seen as one of those people. And I was just like, I'm here to go. Let's go. Give me the work. Give me the work. What can I do? What can I show you?
It's so funny that you said that, because I haven't thought about that, but the unpaid internship, to build a resume, to get the experience, to then finally get that dream job, that the unpaid internship is like out the door these days.
There's not much of it.
No, people don't want to work for free. You kidding me? For experience? Screw that.
Well, yeah. And the reality though is, there's so much information available online. Like, if you wanted to start a t-shirt business today, you could spend 2 days on YouTube or Google and just go read every article that's ever been written about great companies and things like that have done it, how they approached it, who they worked with. You would, within 2 days, to your point, you would get, go to whatever Squarespace, whatever website, you run a Shopify store off of the back, or you just do it off of Shopify, whatever. Go get somebody to make you some shirts that are cool and then get them online. Like, figure out how to do some basic design. Like, it's pretty straightforward. All the information is there. You got to want to do it. You got to want to keep doing it.
Well, which is awesome that the tools like that exist for people to be able to have an idea and very, very quickly put it to fruition and get it into the market. But you're right. It's the drive and the how bad and how much they want to execute on it. I don't know if back to your technology question. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with this at all, but I was playing with it the other day. It's wild. I don't know. Have you been following this AI stuff?
Oh, the Chat GPT, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit. Like,
so
yeah,
that's a whole that's a whole that's a whole
no, let's talk about it, because I've been wanting an excuse to talk about it on the podcast. By the way, if you look at the podcast logo, the Herkinator, right, half of the face is this stoic kind of, and it's a nod toward like thinking, contemplating, those types of things. And the other half is this robot with grenades in its teeth. That's kind of the reflection of impending doom to society. And I've named that side of it Chat GPT for now. Because dude, it is so scary. Like, it is so scary in a good way too, though.
And I'm going to send this to you when we're done on Instagram, but there's the other day I was playing with it, and basically it's all AI technologies and AI online platforms. And it goes from validating your business idea with AI, creating your logo with AI, creating all your marketing material with AI, website, like all the way through step by step. And you can literally, so I just tested out. I came up with this business idea and I went step by step on these AI platforms. And my business was basically done in a matter of 20 minutes. I mean, it's crazy. But I'll send it to you. It's just fun to play with. But the chat one, I mean, it's going to replace people.
Yeah, well, so what we're finding, and by the way, I talk about this book all the time. There's a really great book by a guy named Charles Fine called Clock Speed, and he was an MIT professor. He wrote the book in the early '90s, and what he proposes is that there's this like helix model to business. There's these like cycles of integration and disintegration. There's these cycles of specialization and then commoditization. And I think the cycle that we're going through society right now is the commoditization of education. I mean, it used to be specialized, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at the written word, not everybody could read and write early days. And so the people that could, those were specialists. And then doctors were such a specialty. They still are in society. We're moving to a point where somebody can ask a computer a question and obtain knowledge. And so the need for the specialists, the need for the deep thinkers in certain areas or spaces that are human is starting to wane, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about, I was half joking, but really it's not. 3 to 5 years from now, with all this AI, our PR marketing firms are gone, our photographers are gone, our copywriters are gone, our accountants are gone, like everything, all these specialized services that people pay money for, a robot's going to be able to do it in 10 seconds.
Yeah. If that.
And yeah, think about all these specialty trades. We're 3 to 5 years from that. We're already, like you said, we're going there. That transition's happening right before our eyes. And it's just wild.
I find it even more interesting of like what industries will persist. And I think also, like, what does this do? So AI is built off of the concept of having millions and millions of data points to help a machine learn. What happens when the machine starts learning off of data points that it's creating? Right. So essentially, like, okay, you can only write so many business plans from the historical body of knowledge. Where's the new knowledge coming from? At some point in time, as we become stupider as a collective, does the AI persist, or does the AI get stupider with us? Does it box us into this kind of like this groupthink that is confined by the amount of information that's available today or in the next 5 to 10 years, to which generations of people are stuck? And then what does it mean for history, or the analysis of history from the past? Like, I don't know. It's a very strange concept. I mean, I'm starting to build my thoughts out on.
Well, then my business brain is, what are the opportunities here?
Yeah.
Like how do I leverage AI into what I'm doing? Or B, what business service or thing or add-on can I leverage AI and create an opportunity with? I don't even know what that is, because AI is so new and mind-blowing to me. But there's just, it's going to get rid of some things, but it's going to create a lot of new things too. Where do you get ahead of that? So I don't know what the answer is, but you would hope
that it would create new things, new opportunities. I think we're going to get to a point where there's a lot of people who are displaced by this technology.
Oh,
and I think, unfortunately, as people from the past were contemplating a future in which the Jetsons existed, and George Jetson still had this like 9 to 5 job where he like shows up with his little briefcase from his spaceship. I think the assumption that human value in most cases will still be necessary.
Yeah.
It kind of kind of shines light on the ruse this whole thing is at times. And it's a sobering reality, man. I don't know. It's fun to think about.
Yeah, it's wild. Wild.
Well, with that, Pat, so, buy a t-shirt,
Yeah.
saves, feed some folks, and then, we'll see what happens in the next 3 to 5 years when the robot overlords take over.
I'm staying on my course. Yeah. Until people start selling digital t-shirts that are better than mine. And I'm still going.
Dude, I love it, man. Hey, anything else that we didn't touch on this journey we went on together today, brother?
No. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm glad we made this happen.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a little while, man.
I've been poking you for a year.
I know.
Thanks for finally saying, all right, fine, get out of my hair.
No, not like that at all, man. It's so cool to have people that I interact with on a personal level on the show as well. I mean, obviously you know quite a few of the guys that I've had on, like Gino, for instance. Gino was one of my first ever guests, if not the first guest. He's the first person I interviewed. He was the second episode that I published nice. on the podcast. And
how many episodes are you at now?
Dude, this is 130. This is going to be 135 or 136.
Good for you. We'll keep going. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate having you on. Appreciate you knowing, brother, and also excited about all the things that you're doing and the contribution that you make to an impact that you have on people's lives. I know that you said that that's kind of seems secondary these days, but I know that was such a catalyst for doing the things that you're doing. So if you're listening, let's go support, man, whatever state you're in, Idaho, Oregon, Texas, Nevada, even if you live in a different state, support one of those states or reach out to Pat, man. AdventureAwaitsUSA.com is the website. And again, my man, looking forward to chatting soon.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, cheers.